It just keeps going and going and going. Hey, boys and girls. Welcome back to the unfiltered, unedited, uncensored, commercial-free Sharks podcast that is the Pucknologists here on Teal Town, USA. Show 147 here for you. Ah, boy. 3 games this week. The Sharks go 2-1, and we're going to get into those, of course, and share our thoughts on Evander Kane being put on unconditional waivers, the future of Doug Wilson, pros and cons of trading Tomas Hertl, and more. But first, as we always like to ask, please subscribe, follow us on social media if you can. If you'd like to help to support the content we deliver, you can always throw us a little donation using that super chat option during the live shows. We prefer Venmo if you can. You can find us at tealtownusa.com. We always thank you for that support. And if you're not watching us live on YouTube, dude, throw a little comment in the chat section or comment section below. Let us know what your thoughts are, what you're thinking. We would appreciate seeing that just to see what everybody else is interested in doing. So, with that, let's get into it. And hey now, what a fucking shirt that is. Hockey jerk. Rocking and rolling, baby.
Yeah, like always.
Oh, it almost looks as if Erik Karlsson bought himself a new lawnmower. Am I wrong? I mean,
Sure.
it's a very happy face. It's a very happy face.
Well, yeah, any moment to flame you is a happy moment.
This is all I'm saying. So here we are with your weekly wrap-up of Sharks hockey. 36 games, yo. We're just, 5 away from that halfway mark. And 19, 16, and 1. 39 points. Remember, this point last year, 36 points. So, scotch better. Right?
I mean, they're finding ways to keep themselves in the hunt, which I think is encouraging, because I think the last 2 years we got to this point, it was like, yeah, this is probably going to be a lost season. And you know what? Maybe this season is a lost season as well, but they're certainly doing everything they can to make that not the case, I would say.
They're working on it. They're working on it. With 39 points, Sharks currently are 5th in the Pacific, 3rd in the wild card. But if you go by points percentage, because a lot of teams have games in hand, Sharks are 6th in the division and 6th in the wild card. So don't get crazy, is what I'm saying. 4-2 over the last 6 games. 3 of those 4 wins, though, bro, they had to go to overtime to win those.
That's okay.
Yeah, but if you're a team that's gonna stir up some shit in the postseason, you're not giving up 7 goals to the worst team in the division.
I mean,
Arizona.
The good thing is that all of those games that did go to overtime were not against divisional rivals, so there's no ground made by the people the Sharks are competing with.
True that. All right. Look at you, always finding that silver lining.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to be more like Curtis Brown. Oh.
Oh man. And that third win though, it saw the Sharks gave up. Who was it? Was Detroit, right? I want to say, yeah, first game where they got absolutely embarrassed. The Sharks had 21 shots on goal throughout the entire game. They gave up 22 shots on goal in the third period alone. But to your point, they're still 2-2 in the division. So, again, Curtis Brown the hell out of that.
That's what I'm saying. Is people can say whatever they want. Rebuild, don't rebuild, Sharks suck, Sharks are good, this, that, lose, win, whatever. They're in the hunt.
All right. And we're still playing my prediction game, and right now I'm 1 point out. I had them at 20-16 at this point, and they're 19-16-1, so pretty goddamn close.
I'm just laughing because I have the replay going on in my head, and I just heard my Curtis Brown line, so got a good chuckle. Got a good chuckle out of that. No, I think, I mean, you look at some of what's transpired here the last little bit. I mean, yeah, a real full diaper against the Red Wings, right? But and good game against the Sabres, good game against the Flyers too. So, obviously,
good game against the Sabres.
Yeah, I mean they started the game well. I mean they won, right?
Okay, yeah. First 20 was all right.
Yeah, my point being though is that for the last I don't know. I mean, obviously since they came back from the COVID, but also but before, maybe not totally before that, but right before that, but certainly after the COVID, they've been winning more than they've been losing.
Barely, but yes.
Well, barely is still
works.
It's still true. I mean,
they don't ask how; they just ask how many.
It's still true. So, those are things we like to see.
Well, I mean, we talked about the embarrassment in Pittsburgh last Sunday, and then boom, they followed that up with a massive embarrassment in Detroit.
It's a full diaper. Full diaper.
Dude, because let's be honest. I mean, it all comes down to the special teams. Giving up 2 shorties to a team who hadn't gotten a shorty in 100 games.
It's historical.
Oh my God. I mean, they came in to that second period. It's like, oh my God, they got a 5-minute major. And of course, the broadcast team is going to go, well, the last time the Sharks and I went, oh shit, here we go. That's the kiss of death.
And you want to know something hilarious too? So we kind of, I mentioned it last week. How the broadcast mentioned the Vegas comeback, right? And
if you will.
And I said at the time, like, why are we talking about this, right? So I don't want to say I've been looking out for this, but I've noticed it. They have also mentioned the Vegas comeback in some way or another in every game this week. And I'm looking at the calendar. I'm like, is that game gonna air soon? And they're and they're prepping people for it, like.
And you think I have a problem letting go of Pavelski?
No shit, dude.
I know, right?
So we're getting asked in the comments based on the graphics we're seeing. Is Ian joining us tonight, or is it just us?
It's my blad. That is a cross between blad and blunder. That's me. We
out here inventing words.
Yeah. Oh, of course. So yeah, that's on me. And thank you for pointing that out. That's my blunder.
Yep. Shout out to Alex.
Ian not joining us tonight. Probably, perhaps next week, but not right now. But not that we don't love the dude. So okay, does that feel better? Feels better.
Yeah, looks good.
All right, we're all good. So anywho, so full diaper, as you said, against Detroit. I mean, Jesus Christ. Now you can sit there and go, well, okay, Couture and Peterson go out on protocol, and of course, Peterson going out is addition by subtraction.
So Couture was out on protocol.
Exactly. I mean, Jesus Christ. And then this one, god damn, dude. This, for me, the difference in the Detroit game, it was just like Reimer flubbed the first one, and then Burns, I don't know how many times he flubbed in this game. And then you also have the issue where Middleton, gets knocked the fuck out in the first period, and so the Sharks got to roll with 5 instead of 6 on the back end. I mean, it's not a recipe for success.
No, I mean when your
special teams go full diaper.
Yeah, and
I feel like that's going to be a consistent theme throughout this show.
Well, because here's the thing though, when if you have a child or you're taking care of a child and they have a full diaper, what is your reaction?
Yeah,
because
they get a little cranky.
Mine is ugh, and that's how I felt about this game. Yeah, it certainly doesn't help Jake Middleton obviously going down. Erik Karlsson out as well. He would miss. I don't recall if he finished the game or if he was out early, as was Middleton, but not helping things when you lose your top two defensemen and it's during the game, so it's not even like you can replace them, right?
Yeah.
And just Randy Hahn even said it too, like the wheels are off right now, and that's seriously what had happened in this game. It was just the power play wasn't there. Penalty kill was good for them, I guess, but
That was like literally the one saving grace you can take from this is, they give up 2 shorties to start the second. Barabanov makes it 4-2, like that little teaser, and then the Sharks give up 2 goals in a minute 10. Like,
yep.
Jesus Christ. And then they throw in Hill to start the third, who gives up 2 goals on the first 4 shots. And you went, okay, maybe flush this one down the toilet. The only saving grace you can take from this is like, well, at least Vlasic got scratched.
Well, and all the people are going to come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, it would have been 3-2 if Vlasic was in," as if the revisionist history. It's epic.
Oh, it's staggering. So yeah, for me. It was all about special teams. Reimer gets hung out. Hill doesn't do a lot of favors for himself. Granted, you got a lot of new guys playing new positions, but that's when you're supposed to lock it down and make it simple. And instead, they started cheating, chasing offense, and it was just horrific. Might have been the worst game I've ever seen Brent Burns play. It is what it is. Yeah, for now. I mean, at this point, they'd allowed 23 goals over 4 games. You just go, oh, Jesus Christ. And then the best part, of course, is post-game. Brent Burns, what did you say?
Dude, he looked like a Disney villain.
Dude, I laid down, I'm like, God damn, that is a serial killer. I mean, he came out, shaved head, black hoodie, and it was just like, oh my God, tell me he doesn't have a shed somewhere in like Idaho, right? It was a little nervous.
Yeah, it was it was something, that's for sure.
It was definitely something. But Hertl went so far even to drop an F-bomb, if I'm hearing this correctly. Let's go to Tomas after the Detroit game.
We have some meetings, guys been talking, and we knew what we have to do. It's we got some guys, they have long runs and stuff, and we've been talking, especially here the last 2 years, it wasn't fun, and a lot of players, we know when it's game flies, and especially when you miss playoff, it's long summer and you hate it, and we knew now after always the Christmas, it's just the games are gone and like that, and we know we like still like a couple points behind the playoff, but if you lose a couple like that and you start hunting and you just like every game we have to win this one, and if not we fucked, it's just so hard. So we have to get ready because right before break we got a couple more games and we have to really get ready and just do everything, get every single point what we can. But with our team, it's not about like a couple of guys, it's about all 20 guys with goalies, because we've been talking a lot, we don't have maybe some skills, but we have hardworking guys, and that's our game, and we have to go back to it before it's really too late.
So at that point, you have to be thinking like, oh shit, man, Hertl does not look happy. Like, it was a very trade me right fucking now moment. But let's be honest, it was really funny. It's like, we're chasing points, and if we have to play every game where it's like it's a must win, then we fucked. I mean, he slid that in like a magician.
Yeah, he did. And nobody noticed.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Obviously we did, but like, nobody who runs the 7-second delay or clips the audio or anything like that. Nobody caught that.
Oh, dude, it was fantastic. But the best part, of course, about the Detroit game, it's like the Sharks lose 6-2. There's not a lot of good you can take from this, but there is one fun part that you can take from it.
Decides that he's going to mix it up with Middleton.
Detroit, 21 San Jose. Both guys, 5 each for fighting.
Atta boy!
Oh, what a
Wes
call.
McCauley in great
Love it.
form. 5 for fighting. Way to go, Wes.
I love the Wes McCauley fighting calls. They're just the best. I know that like Steve Dangle and his crew.
I thought you were playing something funny. What was that?
I know that Steve Dangle and his crew, they're like, really? That's the point that we're at where Wes McCauley's fight calls are like entertainment? You know what? Yeah, they are. I find them entertaining. Don't rain on my parade.
No, for sure it's fun. Like, I like seeing the personality. Don't get me wrong. I like seeing the personality, and clearly he enjoys what he does and he's having a good time, and good for him. It's good for the sport. But like all these people on social media who are like peeing their pajamas, Wes McCauley. It's like, okay, come on. Like, this is not the first time he's done this.
Hey, let us have our fun, jerk.
I guess.
Okay. So after the Detroit diaper stuffing, if you will, the Sharks follow that up with a rare win in Buffalo. I think that, this is like their second win in their last, 12 visits there or something?
Definitely more than 2, but not much more.
It seems like a yowza. You'll remember this is the second meeting this season. They won 5-3 earlier at SAP, which, for those keeping tabs, was the lowest attendance ever in SAP history, or I should say Shark Tank history. Hill got the start in this one with Sawchenko being the backup because Reimer tweaked something versus Detroit. And this is the game where Middleton, he's out because of that, that amazing bean off the glass that he took. Carlson's out because I'm not even sure why. A lot of people are speculating like he tweaked something when he went for like a slapper or something.
Yeah, it seemed the way he kind of he took a shot in that Detroit game, and the way he twisted, like you kind of wonder if it was potentially somewhere in the abdomen area.
Yeah, or something up in the ribs or something. I don't know. Either way, so Chief was out. You get Ryan Merkley in, and then of course Vlasic returning after being scratched. And Buffalo coming into this one on a 3-game losing streak, and they'd gone 2 wins in their previous 10. So, again, it's another game where this seems to be, I don't know, a talking point over the last 10, 15 games. Sharks go 0 for 1 on the power play, 2 for 3 on the kill. So it's like, can't score on the power play, and they give up 1 on, when they're supposed to be killing shit, and you just go, fuck, here we go again. Whatever. And is this no, this wasn't the one that Reedy came in. Who came into this? Oh, Halbgewachs went out. Gadjevic came back in. Did anybody notice? Probably not.
I mean, he had a fight.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Reedy did play. As
he did.
As did VL. Only 7 minutes, so
Yeah.
But
the best part, of course, is the opening score comes from the O-line.
Yes.
My trademark is still pending, right?
Yeah.
When did I come up with the Cogliano, Nieto, Bonino O-line?
So
I
think officially it must have been a few weeks ago or maybe a few months ago officially, but after all the signings were done, I kind of feel like you sort of just off the cuff mentioned it, and everybody was like, okay, whatever. But then it actually happened, right? So,
yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I know, and you're one of these people, but I know a lot of people are going to look at this game and be like, oh, you know what, Sharks, they didn't really play that good of a game, blah blah blah. But
I thought it was horrific.
Right.
Aside from the first period, I thought the final 40 minutes were awful.
Yeah, I mean they. To be up 3-0 and then to let the Sabres get 2 goals like that and make it close, obviously that's not what you want, right? You want a consistent effort all the way through. But I liked the first period. I mean, Timo Meier and Tomas Hertl have been a very dynamic duo for the Sharks the last week.
Yeah.
So you don't want to say, I hate that the Sharks are a one-line team, but I think it's kind of fun to see the Sharks have some superstars, right? And and I think as you mentioned, the O-line getting a goal, I think is fun.
I think you mispronounced that. O-line.
Just because, you want them to, you want other guys to get in there, right? So I liked that as well. But, to your point, as the second and third period went on, things were starting to look, like they were going to shift in Buffalo's favor. But I liked what I saw from Aiden Hill. I thought he really shut it down after the first period.
Down. Well,
Yeah.
to me, he shut it down. It was, again, it's the whole idea of like, wait a minute, you got 21 shots on goal. You gave up 22 in the third. Like it felt like the Sharks were almost trying to lose the game in that third period.
Sure,
but the worst prevent defense I've ever seen.
See, you say that, but I would also say, so every defenseman in this game had at least one block shot. Megna had 4. But then you also had 7 different forwards who had a block shot in this game as well. So,
but what does that tell you?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
It means the other team's spending a shitload of time in your end.
No, for sure. No, what I'm like, when you say that the Sharks, yeah, they spent a lot of time in their end and they sort of let Buffalo get back into it. You're correct when you say that. But you see all these guys blocking shots. You see Aiden Hill doing what he's doing, and it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's not an ideal situation. We're being dominated right now, but it's kind of that mentality of you can bend us, but we're not going to break, right? And
it felt like they were doing all they could to break. I mean,
I don't know.
Well, dude, you go back to like those last 30 seconds. There's a couple looks that Buffalo should have buried and they fucked up.
Yeah, but you know how many other teams can say the same thing about the last 30 seconds of every game they've ever played? It's every team.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. Every final
happens.
30 seconds in a 1-goal game is crazy.
And of course, the one funny part of this, well, there's a few funny things that came out of this Buffalo game. Is first up, the NBC guys. Not a good night for them. They throw up a graphic to promote Mario Ferraro, and forget to throw his headshot in there and have Dummy Head in there, which to me, of course, is going to be my new nickname for Ferraro. Then they throw up the lines. They've got Barabanov at center, and they've got Hertl on the wing, and they've got the Weatherby line as the second instead of the Benino. Whatever, fine. But then to top it all off, they throw up Bugner as 5th season as Sharks head coach. No. 5th season as a head coach, maybe 5th season as a Sharks coach, but not 5th season as a head coach. It was a tough sledding for the group and the graphics people, the department over there. But it is what it is. There's
only so much you can do when you're missing half your fingers and one of your eyes doesn't work. So.
But of course, the best part coming out of the Buffalo game is Ryan Merkley knowing where that camera is. I mean, just spotting it up. He was like, yeah, feeling good up here, feeling good with the big club. Don't think I need to go down to the A.
Well, I think he's, I think he was looking at the haters and he was kind of like, hey,
yeah, keep talking, bitches.
Hey, +1 tonight.
That's exactly right, dude. Oh, man. So, look, at least, hey, it was the first time that the Sharks had scored the first goal since the Arizona barn burner, so that helps. The Sharks, get up early on a crappy team, which you would expect. But, yeah, I was a little nervous about the shots on goal in the third. But Vlasic, to his credit, after being scratched the previous game, plays a season-high 18:05 time on ice. And you go, all right.
Okay, we need to address that.
Oh, we're going to get to he's in the stock down list, my friend.
No, I'm aware, but we need and you've now mentioned it, and the broadcast mentioned it as well. Oh, Vlasic coming back from being scratched, and he played a season high in ice time. Why do you think that is? Because there's nobody else to play those minutes. That's it. I mean, it's exactly the same as I know you heard it. We talked about it in the game last night against the Philadelphia Flyers. Oh, this Hertl line and the Barabanov and Meier, it's been the best line tonight. And
the best line is the best line. What a shock.
Yeah, it's like, I hope. I hope so.
So the guys are making their money. Sounds good.
It's like, yeah, season high in ice time. And because nobody else was going to play those minutes. Like, I don't know. I love, and I'm not trying to call out anybody specifically. I'm just saying, generally speaking, I love the mental gymnastics that people will go through to try and present a point.
Are we talking about Curtis Brown again?
I'm just saying in general. Oh, Vlasic played a season high in minutes after being scratched. It's like, yeah,
so
but not even that. It's just like, yeah, and no Carlson, no Middleton, and like, I mean,
yeah,
it's not exactly that big of a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, can we look at the lineup? Oh, that's what we have to work with? Okay. So finally, the Sharks finish off the 4-game road trip in Philadelphia. It's a 3-2 overtime victory, just like, bizarrely enough, the last time the Sharks played Philly, like a week and a half ago. Finally, though, in this one, Martin Jones would start against his former team, and I'll tell you, after JVR, Van Riemsdyk scored the first 2, I went, oh, fuck, dude. Jones is going to goalie the Sharks. Watch. and you know, I hit up the Teal Town DMs like a day or two or whenever it came out that Jones was starting, and I'm like, okay, great. It's going to be a 4-0 win or a 4-0 loss. And I'll tell you, after Van Riemsdyk potted the first 2, I went, oh, man, I hate to be right. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of felt like a track meet all night, right? Where it was like,
it did. It was really weird.
It gave off a vibe of like, okay, this game is going to be 1-0 in the shootout, right? And yeah, you see those 2 JVR goals, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm just like, really, like, not to say the Sharks were the better team in this game at any point prior to the third period, but they were in it, right? Like they could have just as easily been up 2 bagel as the Flyers were, right?
Yep.
And you know, I'll tell you what, Tomas Hertl is, you know, for all we say about how Erik Karlsson loves to take your lunch money, Tomas Hertl, I think Tomas Hertl's paying you back, right?
Fucking beast mode.
Because first of all, you notice in that clip after the Detroit Red Wings game, he was wearing the Patrick Marleau shirt, which I know Patrick Marleau is your hero.
No, so not my hero. That's Pavelski. You know this.
No, but you know he's one of your guys, so he was obviously wearing that shirt for you. But you know, but then also too, he clearly must be in the DMs, and he knew. He was like, no, I don't want to hurt AJ's feelings with this shutout. You know, I don't want AJ to have to begrudgingly be right about Martin Jones getting a shutout against us. So, you know, he was like, you know what? For AJ, I'm going to score 3 goals here, and we're going to be on the bus.
Natural Hattie.
All good. Yeah. Dude, that's as soon as the Sharks went down 2-0, he was like, all right, AJ, it's time. He got on the ice. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. I got you, boss.
Yeah. That's exactly. Dude, that's right where the Sharks wanted to be.
Well, and it didn't help, you know. Gadjevic only played like a minute 7 of the first period, and he went out, so the Sharks got 11 forwards. But yeah, after JVR scored that second one, I was like, oh, we fucked. But then Hertl gets it back, and he gets the other one, and then fucking OT with like 24 seconds into the OT, and you're like, oh my God, Natty Hattie, holy shit.
Yeah, he said on the bench, he was like, we got to go down 2-0. I need my hat-trick goal to be the winner. It's a real thing that happened.
Dude.
It's where the Sharks wanted to be.
Absolute beast. But again,
no,
another
all seriousness though, I just want to say, like, it's
when have we ever been serious? But go ahead.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's how we've seen the Sharks in this situation so many times where they're in the game, right? Maybe it's 0-0 or it's 1-1 the entire game, right? And then the other team, they get a quick goal, and all that's talked about, you know, leading up to the end of regulation, and then the following day, you know, after the post-mortem on the game, it's always, man, the Sharks just, you know, if they had one guy who would just, you know, step up and sort of put the team on his back, right?
Yeah.
And Hertl's been doing, since we called Hertl out on the December 5th Pucknologists, he's been, you know, he's been ready to go. He does not want to disappoint you anymore.
Can I invite you right now to call out Lane Peterson?
I don't have his number. No, but and again, it would be nice if the Sharks could have, you know, different guys on a different nightly basis dragging the team to victory. But at the same time, I do like seeing, again, Hertl and Timo Meier as well, kind of leading the charge, right? And being the big guns, you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to have it, just as nice it is to have depth who everybody chips in. I think it's also nice to say, like, yeah, that's our big gun. Like, we know he's stepping out on the ice and we're going to get something out of it.
Yeah. Well, and every guy enjoys depth.
Yeah, for sure.
Power play on this one, 0 for 2 for the Sharks. PK, 1 for 2. So, again, another night where the Sharks special teams could have made they got the win in overtime, but special teams could have made a difference. Power play right now over the last 10 games, 1 for 20. That sucks.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's fucking horrible. Might want to work on that. This week, the Sharks power play, 0 for 6. The PK, they killed 6 out of 8. Now, 6 out of 8 that's not horrible, but remember, this is a team that the Sharks were like top of the fucking list after a month on the PK. Like, I think they'd let in 1 for the first 30 against or something. It was ridiculous. So, that's special teams. Not so special. You got to get it together. And the weird,
I don't know. I feel like the penalty kill is still.
It's not as good as it was, but it's still good.
I mean, it's 10th, which is, top third of the league. Obviously, is really nice. And,
is it 10th? I have it at 9th right now.
Well, there
were games
barely,
today, so
right, and
9th, 10th.
What I mean,
hey,
whether
9th,
it's 10th or
10th, who gives a shit?
That's what I'm saying. Regardless, like the Sharks penalty, like, okay, not everything can be first, right? So it's like the Sharks have a good penalty kill, and I think that's as long as you're over 80%, I'm not even giving it a second thought.
Yeah, and Bonino was out on protocol, right?
Bonino, yeah, he missed the game against the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, so maybe that had something to do with it. We don't know, but random numbers crunch.
But you know what though? So you take a look at the numbers. We love numbers on this podcast. Obviously Cogliano and Nieto, like those are your big guys on the PK, right?
Sure.
Hertl led the Sharks forwards in shorthanded ice time against the Flyers. So you talk about a guy, he scores 3 goals, literally single-handedly winning the game for the Sharks, but also like, hey, we need you to lead us in killing penalties as well, and he's right there. He led all the Sharks forwards in 5-versus-5 ice time, power play ice time, shorthanded ice time. I mean, I don't know how much more I need to say, but like,
well, let me say this really quickly. A couple of donations have come in via Venmo. We thank you so much for that. John and Daniel, I don't know if you're one of the people that have also made comments in the chat tonight because obviously you're using different handles, but thank you very much for the donations. If you have a comment in there, sign it with your name, John or Daniel, and we'll get to it. Did you know, after me doing a random numbers crunch, since becoming a small group of select NHL teams to ever lose a game after scoring an empty net goal, you'll all remember back on January 5th, 2020, when the Sharks lost in overtime to the Washington Capitals after Couture had scored an empty net. The Sharks' record right now, 51, 59, and 9. It makes me wonder, did the Capitals break the Sharks that game? I don't know. Remains to be seen. It's been
how
weird.
could Evander Kane do this?
No. That's all I'm saying. And we'll talk about Evander Kane in a hot minute. But stock up, stock down right now, everybody. We got some good lists here. And usually when it comes to stock up, stock down, we usually go over the week. But I think it means a little bit more. We're going to go start with the games that happened after that 12-day layoff for the holiday. Let's go with Timo Meier. 2 goals, 6 assists. 1 goal and 5 assists since he was benched versus Philadelphia in overtime. You'll remember both Meier and Dahlin were benched in OT in that one. Timo continuing to step up when he's challenged? No?
Yeah, I mean, he's first of all, he's been, just based on the stats, right? He's been the best player, their best forward this year for the Sharks.
Hertl. Hertl.
Well, I'm saying based on the stats. And
Based on the stats, Hertl.
I'm saying your calculator must not be working.
Okay, whatever.
But you look like
Who's wearing a letter, motherfucker?
Oh, dude, letters are useless, dude. Dude, I got a letter on my keyboard. There's 26 of them. He's been good, like consistently. Like, yes, he had whatever. He got benched in the first game against the Flyers, which I still think was a stupid move, but whatever. He's showing like, hey, okay, fine, bench me, do whatever you got to do. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you why you should never do that again, right?
Hey, now.
And he's. I feel like we say it every week, right? But we're well beyond the point of, oh, he's just had a hot start to the year. Like, it's January, okay? Like, it's time to just accept the fact that he's a good player, right?
He is what he is right now.
And if he continues at this pace, which I have no reason to think he won't, he's going to score 94 points this year.
Christ almighty.
When's the last time, and I know you know this because he's one of your heroes, when's the last time the Sharks had somebody score 100 points?
Joe Pavelski.
So it's going to be really unfortunate if the Sharks do end up trading Tomas Hertl, because I think him and Meier as a duo have been really, really good. And I think I would even venture to say that them as a duo is so good, maybe they should put somebody random there and see if they can get a couple tapping goals just for fun.
Well, let me ask you this before we move on through the stock up, stock down. I know we're going to talk about Hertl in a hot minute, but let me ask you this. Meier has one more year on his contract, yes?
1 year after this year, yes.
Yeah, so one more year. Now, look, I'm a moron when it comes to the cap and contracts and all that. So let me ask you, in order for the Sharks to re-sign him or anything, does like the starting figure have to be at $10 million? Like,
nope.
What did that whole $10 million figure? What did that do for everybody involved?
So really, it didn't do anything.
So why are so many people crying about like, $10 million?
Because you have people who like to take small pieces of information, which are they're things to think about, but they're not the end of the world.
Context.
And blow them up. Like this is one thing about Sharks fans I've noticed. They will take possibilities and talk about them as if they're absolutes. And it drives me like. It puts me into Erik Karlsson's lawnmower and drives me up the wall. The thing with Timo Meier and with every restricted free agent, and obviously they've changed the rules in the last year, but at the time Timo Meier signed his contract, when a player becomes a restricted free agent, you need to keep their, in order to retain their rights as a restricted free agent, you have to, tender them a qualifying offer of a 1-year deal at the salary of the final year of the previous contract. In Timo Meier's case, next year his salary will be $10 million. Now, here's the thing. Very, very, very rarely does a player ever take their qualifying offer and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
99 times out of 100, the qualifying offer is a formality just to retain the RFA rights, and ultimately the team and the player negotiate a new contract, totally independent of whatever the qualifying offer is. And I'll ask you this too. Now, obviously, people are saying, well, what if Timo Meier takes his qualifying offer, which would be 1 year at $10 million, and then walks to unrestricted free agency? Well, then he's clearly all about the money, doesn't care about San Jose, and you probably don't want him on the team anyway.
Great point.
But if he loves San Jose, loves being on the team, which by all accounts he does, would you rather take 1 year at $10 million? Or would you maybe want $49 million over 7 years?
Yeah.
Seems to me like it's an easy answer.
So a lot of people are making a mountain out of a molehill.
It's taking possibilities and talking about them as if they're absolutes.
Perfect.
And Ian Reed, God love you, buddy, making my point here. Patrick Laine, the only guy to take his qualifying offer in the last 10 years.
There you go.
I should say, we're saying.
So, hold on.
Hold on. Patrick Laine.
No, you hold on.
the only guy of stature. Because a couple years ago, Chris Tierney did take his qualifying offer, but it was under $1 million, so nobody even noticed.
Well,
Patrick Laine, the only guy of stature.
let me ask you that. So was the $10 million, was that contract structured in a way to be a poison pill for somebody?
I mean, that's certainly a possibility, but I just don't see a scenario where at the time the deal was signed, right, coming off of a Western Conference final appearance, I don't see a situation where the Sharks are a good team and they want to trade away one of their best players.
No, I'm right there with you. All right, let's finish up some stock ups here. Good God, Tomas Hertl, hello. 4 goals, 3 assists over the last 6 games, called out by his coach as a leader while Couture has been on protocol. Talked about in post-game following the Philly game, just that he's up there, he's pumping guys' tires, he's keeping the bench engaged and motivated. Probably easy to do when you're the only one scoring. But we're...
And also 11 goals in 11 games since we called him out.
Nice. And which,
two
of course,
two hat tricks.
Dude, and versus Philly, first natural hat trick for him, yes?
I want to say yes, first natural hat trick, and also like part of a very small number of people to have a natural hat trick on the road where the hat trick goal was an OT winner.
Jesus. Man. So I think what we're trying to get at is we're just going to keep having him stock up until he's traded, which we'll get into in a hot minute. One of Jerk's favorite players, Alexander Barabanov, 3 goals, 2 assists over the last 5. But could this guy be more under the radar? Like, nobody is talking about him, and you know what? I like it.
Well, and so how soon we forget, right? And we've talked about this before, so we'll be brief, but Barabanov didn't play the first 5 games of the season. Number one, he was going through something in training camp, but Bob also said, he's not been in our top 12 best forwards up to this point. And it's like, okay, I don't know if I agree with that, but whatever. Right. And since, he had to come in, obviously a couple guys at that time, they got banged up obviously. And so Barabanov did have to come in. Since he came in, he has not left the lineup, and and again, this is the theme with us. We're about numbers on this podcast. If Barabanov continues to score at the pace that he's currently scoring at right now, he's going to finish the season with 50 points. Not bad for a guy you got for a career minor leaguer, and
Suomela,
not bad,
right?
And Suomela, and not bad for a guy you're paying $1 million to. Like, that's good value if you ask me.
Oh, dude, it's amazing value, and the fact that there can be some people that will look at this from the other side and say, well, maybe Barabanov is sticking because the Sharks have guys out like Balcers or Couture or whoever, guy LeBanc or whatever. And it's like, no, I don't think that's it. No, Barabanov is proving he can be a reliable middle six guy.
Well, and like I said, he missed the first 5 games of the season, and I can't remember who it was that ultimately got banged up and came out of the lineup, but since then he hasn't left, and Balcers has been in the lineup at the same time as him, so they were on a line together at one point. LeBanc was also in the lineup as well, so it's he's clearly, which I don't know why he had to prove himself, but he's clearly proven himself, and there's
he's got chemistry with Hertl.
That's what I'm saying. I would love a situation where, because I think they've done a lot of tinkering with the Sharks' top 6 this season, really. But, since they've done Meier, Hertl, and Barabanov, I think that's been one of my favorite trios that we've seen in the top 6. I just think the 3 of them, they all really vibe well together. And I would love a situation where, that trio is just one of the Sharks' really dynamic lines.
Well,
everybody's back, everybody's healthy, and say a Dahlin, Couture, LeBanc line, that would be pretty epic to supplement Meier, Hertl, and Barabanov. You know what I mean?
Well, and I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast. I know we've talked about it on Discord, where it's just could you imagine where the Sharks would be had they had Ottawa not thrown Balcers on waivers and the Sharks were able to get him? Had they not switched Suomela for Barabanov, had they not switched Linus Karlsson for Jonathan Dahlin. Could you imagine?
Yeah, no kidding, dude. I mean, it's that like I don't think the Sharks. I don't think like I don't know. It's hard to say because like who knows where the Sharks will be, right? But those three moves that you're talking about, like it's been like it's just made a huge difference, and it's kind of made the Sharks not a good team, but like definitely better. You know what I mean?
Well, let's finish up the stock up count here. Dude, Jake Middleton. I mean, I feel so bad for this guy. He takes that ridiculous hit. It was didn't he like drop the gloves earlier with Smith, and then he ends up taking that hit?
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh, man, did that bum me out. I mean, before going on the IR, he had a goal and 3 assists over 4 games. Like, you talk about starting to heat up. And, like, it felt to me like Middleton was really starting to, like, find his groove. And he's like, okay, I'm getting used to, like, this happens. Okay, Carly's going to do that. So I know that I need to do this. And I'm starting to see how the 3 guys in front of me are setting up. So I'm able to be involved more in the game. And just to see Middleton do that, you just go, fuck,
Yeah.
But still, I'm going to have him in my stock up category because he was a guy that was trending up for me.
Yeah, 100%. And it all kind of stems from Erik Karlsson yelling at him, right? But
a little bit, but Middleton barking back, which you like to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you got to stand up for yourself, right? And I think the way they play kind of complements each other very well. I think him and Knizhov are very similar type players. So and even then, I know somebody in the chat is going to bring it up. I don't know who. I don't remember who it is, but they bring it up. I don't remember who it is, but they bring it up every week where they say, go back to when Erik Karlsson was on Ottawa. Like his partner year after year after year was Mark Mathot.
Or Mathot, yeah, Mathot.
Who is not, he's a very sturdy, reliable defenseman, but he's kind of one of those guys where it's just like, yeah, okay, Mark Mathot, whatever, and you don't really give it a second thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, just the way Jake has played with Erik Karlsson, I mean, the fact that he's letting Karlsson do his thing, but also Karlsson feels comfortable enough with Middleton as a partner to let Middleton do some things, fight, hit, get in on the offense, do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who's 19 for Anaheim? Troy Terry?
Troy Terry, yeah.
Dude, just took the worst shootout shot I've ever seen in my life against Grice. Wow, did that suck. Anyway, yeah. Well, since we're here live, I do have I'm giving the Anaheim-Detroit game the horse eye that Jerk likes to say. So last couple that I have on stock up, Redeem Simek. Like,
Simmer.
Look, it doesn't.
Christ the Redeemer.
Only has a goal, I believe, over the last 6 games, and I know Jerk has mentioned him like the last game or so as a stock-up guy. For me, game has improved since being scratched. Definitely more physical. Now, might be a low bar, but look, for me, the thing is, in you and I have talked about this on Discord, is just what happens when everybody is back on the blue line? Ferraro and Burns, Middleton and Karlsson, and then at the bottom, you have Vlasic, Simek, but you have options like Milosh. For me, Ryan Merkley.
Knizhov. Hatakka.
Yeah, so I just sit there and go, when do we get to the point where it's just like, you know what? Scratch Vlasic. And is that maybe it would be a case of, hey, maybe if Vlasic starts getting scratched on the regular, all of a sudden his list of teams for the no move expands big time.
Well, and I think too, a luxury for the Sharks is that Merkley, Knizhov, Hatakka, these are guys who they don't have to go through waivers. The Sharks can put them.
Hold on. Are you watching? Because Raquel just got filthy.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, dude, Raquel just got filthy to end it. Anyway, go ahead.
So, Merkley, Hatakka, Knizhov, these are guys who don't require waivers. They can go to the Barracuda and play games there if the Sharks decide that that's what's best for them. It's not a situation where they feel pressed to play them. They have options for them. But at the same time, And obviously the salary cap is a factor here, but something I've been saying the last couple weeks or so is take the salary cap out of it. Who are your 6 best defensemen?
And Vlasic, I'm sorry to say, is not part of that group.
No, I think ultimately you want Knyzhov. I mean, I would be surprised if Knyzhov doesn't play in the AHL once he's healthy, just to kind of get things going again, right? Get the juices moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say until Knyzhov's ready to go, I'm the way he's been playing lately, I'm fine with Simek. Vlasic has been a pill for sure. I agree with you and obviously a lot of people. Nick from San Jose Hockey Now podcast is big on Ryan Merkley being in the NHL. I'm with him on that one. I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's really big on that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down with it. You know what I mean? Like,
can't blame him.
Yeah, I think, and you know what? Like, people are going to say, well, he's known for offense, and the offense is not there. He's on the third pair, and he's playing reliably defensively. Who cares?
Well,
right?
not only that, but for me, is because look, the Sharks' power play sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And these last couple of games that Merkley's been in, you know what? I've seen that second unit that Merkley's been on. Definitely seems like they're getting more good looks. And Merkley has shown he can dipsy doodle up there in that corner and kind of like make guys come for him and then just kind of bob and weave and make his way kind of like into that LeBanc territory where LeBanc scored the 4th goal against Vegas in Game 7. He just does. Well, of course, I had to pull the Brown reference there. But it's, he can draw guys into him and then find that space and get them to overcommit.
Right, exactly. And
I don't see that coming from Brett Burns in that position. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing. And we kind of we've talked about it on, I know it's been talked about on After Dark. We talked about it on Discord, but you have guys, specifically Vlasic and Burns. They're the two that come to mind as guys where it's like, yeah, they're making their money. They know how good they've been. And so it kind of feels to me like they're resting on their laurels a little bit. And it's like, well, I'm making good money. I am who I am. They're not going to scratch me. And so it's kind of, in the case of Burns and, up until a week ago, Vlasic as well, it's been like, yeah, well, these guys are who they are, so we're just going to play them. And say what you want about Bob Bugner. Bob clearly not afraid of anything, really, And so, like I said, I think you need to, and when I say you, I mean Bob Bugner, obviously, take the salary cap out of it and just play your 6 best defensemen.
Yeah, I would like to see that happen. So, again, maybe it makes Vlasic open up his ideas of where he potentially might want to go. I don't know. To finish out our stock up, Cogliano, 4 assists in the last 6 games. Each of those assists came in 4 different games. So it's it's like some guys you sit there and go, he had 4 assists in the last 4 games, and 4 of them came in the same game. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You
need context. 4 assists in the last 6, but 4 assists coming in 4 separate games. Cogliano, you definitely, if you watch him in the post game media scrums, man, he is a guy who, I'm not saying you have to, stick a mirror under his nose to make sure he's still conscious, but that guy just has a very even keel. He's just like very matter of fact, very low talker, just kind of, I feel like he talked about Hertl after the Philly game, and he's just like, yeah, Hertl was a beast tonight, and, your best players show up when it matters the most, and that's what he did. So I kind of like that about Cogs, just keep that even keel, not too high, not too low. The way that he's kind of finding a vibe as we're close to the halfway mark with Nieto and Benito and this whole line, digging it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, we've kind of talked about it a lot. I still think that line is, I don't know. I don't think that line is a third line on a Stanley Cup team, but I still like what they've brought to the table.
Yeah. I think it's the third line for the Sharks.
Sure, yeah.
Again, not a Stanley Cup team. Anyway. Stock down. This is where it gets fun, right? Jonathan Dahlin, We've had so many good things to say about you, sir, but no points in the last 5 games. You've only played in 5 of 6 since the break. Lead the team with the -7. Only 10 shots on goal you're averaging 2 shots on goal right now. Dahlin, step it up, my son. Step it up. Tell me that Couture was not the, key to the lock for you.
Well, and not only that, but 1 goal in his last 16 games. And obviously,
to quote Hockey Jerk, ugh.
Well, and I think it's worth saying, like, when he got injured in that game, it kind of looked serious the way he reacted to it.
Sure.
And then he was like miraculously back, right? And so,
let's not forget that time that Evander Kane, or I'm sorry, not Evander Kane, Erik Karlsson, what was it? Tweaked something, and they're like, yeah, we think he's going to be day to day. 2 days later, he's going to be week to week. And then, 2 days later, he started the next game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I do question how healthy he is just based on that. But at the same time, 1 goal in the last 16 games, it's kind of like, and here's the thing, like, if he's not cool, like, if he's not okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't make yourself go out there when you're not okay.
Exactly.
So we'll see. I just hope, if he is 100% healthy, hopefully he can, get things back on track soon. If he's not, I hope he takes a step aside and just lets himself get there,
Yeah. Well, and Ricky coming in hot on the chat saying, leave Dahlin alone. He clearly hasn't been the same since the shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. Another guy who needs to step the crap up, get out of the stock down doghouse, Noah Gregor. You ask Jerk, generally there is no disparaging of Noah Gregor on this channel.
Yeah, but you know what? At some point, the scoring chances need to become goals.
Yeah. 3 assists in the 3 games since the break, but then no points in the 3 games after and a -2. And tell me I'm wrong. Since the holiday break, he's gotten those 3 assists. That's great. But over the 6 games, I don't see him getting the looks that he was generating before then.
The only positive I've noticed from Noah Gregor's game lately has been his foot speed when it comes to getting loose pucks is best on the team. Best on the team.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's like, okay, yeah, they're going to get, maybe it's going to be icing, or maybe, the other team's going to get the puck. They're going to set it up and whatever. And then, boom, here comes Noah Gregor, and he's got the puck. But then it's like nothing comes after that. And, you'd like to see something produced from his really good foot speed.
Yeah. Also on the stock down, Brent Burns. Now, granted, I know there's some people are going to go, how the fuck do you put Brent Burns' stock down? He's like the only defenseman to have points this week. Okay, that's fine. But look at what happened over these 3 games. It had an absolute shit show of a game in Detroit. Felt like I'm not saying he was responsible for every goal against Detroit. I'm just saying it felt like it. Horrific defense when it comes to being out there on the penalty kill across all 3 games. It's like, yeah, he's throwing up a point or 2, but in the overarching theme of the week, not a good week for Burns at all.
Right.
Then we mentioned it earlier. Vlasic, scratch versus Detroit. Responds with the season high 1850 time on ice. He was credited with 2 block shots, had a +1, but he also had a second period delay of game penalty with Buffalo after coming back. But him and Simek, the best defensive pair from an analytics standpoint, on the ice for 6 scoring chances for, but only 2 against. But stock down for now for being just, he's his play this season, it's the feature, it's not the bug. Like, him getting 1850 was an anomaly. Him jumping back has been an anomaly. You go to the Philly game, he got dusted with that first goal against Philly. Dusted whole right up against the boards. And so I sit there and go, yeah, okay, Curtis Brown this all you want. Vlasic has got to go.
Yeah.
And then finally, James Reimer. Look, Guy was money for the first 20, 25 games. Over 4 games since the break, he's 2-2 with an .830 save percentage, 604 goals against. Now, not all of that is on him, but fucking yikes. That is not league average goaltending, my friend.
No, and the players playing in front of him certainly hasn't helped, but
yeah, they were dog shit in those games.
yeah.
There you go. Stats. Let's just feed you the stats really quick. Right now, the Sharks' power play percentage 16.9. It is in free fall, people. 2 weeks ago, it was 16th in the league. It is now 25th. As we mentioned earlier, 1 for 20 on the power play in their last 10 games. In the game where they did score the lone power play goal, it was when they were down 6-1 to Pittsburgh. So that's one of those ones where you go, Moduel. Like, when did that goal happen? Oh, really? So it meant dip-see shit. And let's also take into account the Sharks in their last 10 games, 1 power play goal, scored 4. They gave up 2 shorthanded goals over that same time. So that needs to be fixed. The PK fall to 9th or 10th. Who gives a shit? Over the last 6 games, 12 for 17. Yikes. That also needs to... Like, you can sit there and look over the course of the season, 36 games, you go, hey, 10th in the league. That's not too bad. Yes, but let's look at the trends. Let's look at the numbers. Over the last 6 games, 12 for 17. You've allowed 5. Not great. Face-off percentage... That's been the one lock that the Sharks have had almost this entire season. Right now, 51.2 has been 10th in the league for almost since the start of the season. Now, getting into the goaltending, Hill, look, the Sharks, you have to sit there and go, you can't, I don't know, throw, okay, somebody fetch me my guillotine. Like, you can't throw Hill and Reimer under the bus too much just based on the fact that Hill it's like, okay, Reimer got injured or whatever, and so now Hill is thrust into a position where he's got to start 5 straight or whatever. And then Hill is on COVID protocol, so Reimer is thrust in this position, where probably if the coaches are planning this out, they're looking at it, okay, we're going to go Hill here, Reimer here, and they haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, I just think with like you said, everything that's going on, Reimer's been banged up, Hill's been on the COVID. It's hard to figure out, who the hot hand is right now,
yeah.
Right? But it's also hard to.
Well, you're almost not even given that choice.
That's what I'm saying. Is you're really forced into just playing one guy, and it's like whether he's playing really well or really poorly, like you got to stick with him.
Yeah. So. Hill right now, goals against 2.86. Reimer, 2.68. Not kind of right there. Save percentage for Hill is 9.04. For Reimer, it's 9.16. So, obviously, Hill needs to push that up a little bit more. Wins and losses, Hill is 8-9. Reimer is 11-7-1. Now, the fun part of this, and that's just because we're assholes here, and we have a bet, Martin Jones... right now has a 9.09. So is better than Hill, not as good as Reimer, but that will pay off later in life. From the blue line, though, in 3 games this week, it was not a good week for the blue line. 5 assists. And if memory serves, I think like 4 of those came from Brent Burns. But all in on the season, the blue line has contributed 19 goals and 57 assists in 36 games. That's 76 points. Last I looked, pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, that's better than 2 points per game. It's a lot better than last season. And here again, this is another fun with numbers statistically. As much as I have dumped on EK65 in the previous 2 seasons, I have asked Jerk. I have given him cookies when they were due. And this season, numbers don't lie, people. 52 games played last season for EK65, 8 goals, 14 assists, good for 22 points. This season, through 28 games, 8 goals, 14 assists, good for 22 points. So, as it stands right now, Erik Karlsson has almost the same stat line this season in half as many games played. So, if Chief can figure out how to stay healthy, again, what I still don't know what the hell he tweaked. It was very weird. Have you heard anything? All I've heard is UBI, upper body.
No, I that's the thing. I haven't heard anything either, and probably
never will.
We're probably not going to hear anything until tomorrow, just because, Bob did kind of say that Karlsson could be an option for Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably not going to hear anything until tomorrow. But like I said, my money, just based on the last thing he did before he left the game against the Red Wings, I'm thinking abdomen, oblique, ribs, something like that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. But for all the numbers, as it stands right now, the Sharks, when it comes to goals for by period versus goals against, the Sharks, the first period is not good for them. Second period, it's almost a wash. Third is almost a wash. It's basically right now the Sharks need to get out of the first period either even or up by 1, and that will almost guarantee you a win. If you look at the game versus Philly, the pre and post, and even Randy and Brett were kind of slobbering over a little bit, is the fact that Adin Hill doesn't have great numbers in the first and second period, but a .934 in the third period. So it's like, go in even or with the lead, Adin Hill's going to shut that door. So we haven't talked about the module. Has there been any changes, or it's the same shit?
Pretty much the same.
Same shit. Okay.
Your top 3, as it's been for the last couple months: Tomas Hertl, Timo Meier, Logan Couture, in that order. Erik Karlsson still number 4. Jonathan Dahlen has remained 5th, which goes to show you
that
how
other guys haven't stepped up.
Everybody beneath him has been doing.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're seeing not really a lot of movement. I mean, Hertl did, with the way he's been playing the last week and a half, Hertl did leapfrog Timo Meier on the module.
Makes
but
sense.
Other than that, that's really it.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into what everybody wants us to talk about. Evander Kane. Sharks put Evander Kane on unconditional waivers with the intent to terminate his contract for breach of his NHL standard player contract and for violation of COVID protocol. So, what does it mean for the Sharks? Do they get cap relief?
Yes, they.
Does it happen immediately? Here's the best way. Hold on. Here's the best way that I can. I don't want to have a back and forth on this. I just want to ask you questions, and you can just give me yes or no answers. Like, are the Sharks immediately going to get cap relief from this, or is this going to be a drawn out process between the NHLPA and his, and all the parties involved?
Both.
Okay, so how do the Sharks get that $7 million off the books as soon as possible?
It's already off the books right now because the contract has been terminated. So the Sharks have found themselves with $5.875 million in extra cap space. The reason why it's that number is because he was already in the AHL, and you save money by doing that.
Yep.
So the Sharks, he's off the books. Gonzo Alonso. The issue here is, and the NHLPA, say what you want, I think it's kind of lame that they're standing by Kane while they didn't stand by some other people they probably should have stood by, but to be expected, they were going to file an appeal. And so the short version is Kane and the Sharks are going to go to arbitration if the Sharks are found to have terminated with cause. And based on my understanding of the entire situation, I think they did do this with cause because
even Bill Daly tweet out or Daly
commented,
and it was like, yeah, the Sharks have standing here.
Yes, because it's worth mentioning as well. This has nothing to do with the 21-game suspension for the alleged fake vaccination card. This has nothing to do with that. The NHL said the 21-game suspension is an acceptable punishment for that incident. This has nothing to do with that. This is with things that transpired while he was on the AHL COVID protocol
This
list.
was traveling, according to Kevin Kerr, is traveling to Vancouver while under protocol.
While COVID positive and returning late to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, if the Sharks win here, then the contract stays off the books. Kane loses all the money that he would be owed, and it's over and done with. The Sharks wash their hands with the situation.
Now, what do you think is more likely, a settlement?
They'll probably give Evander Kane some money to make him go away, but ultimately he would still be off the books.
And which I think for fans of the Sharks or whatever, it's kind of the end all be all.
Right now, and here's the thing. If the Sharks believe that they have just cause to terminate his contract, they're not going to settle because they know they'll just beat him in court and owe him nothing.
John Turturro is a lawyer, right?
Well, John Turturro also doesn't work for the Sharks anymore.
Yeah, I know, but you got the joke.
Anyway, so if the Sharks feel like they have just cause, they're not going to do settlement. They're going to try. They're going to say, "We'll beat you in court. We're not going to owe you anything." Now, if Evander Kane is proven to be in the right, his contract with the Sharks would be reinstated.
Ugh.
Or, if he thinks he's going to win, but maybe he's like, I don't want to go back there anyway, maybe he'll just take the settlement money.
All right. Well, Ian saying it, he'll be off the books. The fallout is going to take time. Totally agree with that.
100%. Precedent has shown that it takes time. The Mike Richards settlement came down 3 months after the termination.
Denver asking what kind of return the Sharks would get for Hertl. Denver, we're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to finish up the stuff with Kane. The thing that gets me is like, per Frank Saravalli, it's like Kane, he's got 8 points in 5 AHL games played. He only played in games that occurred in California. If you remember, the Barracuda, I believe, hosted Stockton or something like that, and then they were supposed to fly the next day down to SoCal to play Ontario and San Diego, and a friend of mine reached out to me who has some, shall we say, a family member that works for Southwest, and texted him and said, hey, this is kind of weird. The entire Barracuda team is here, and Evander Kane is not on the manifest. Every other player name is on there. Kane is not. And it's like, oh, that's kind of odd. And so the team flies down there. Kane played in those games, didn't fly down with team. Okay, that's weird. And then the team immediately flew to Colorado because they had to play 2 in Loveland. Kane evidently flew directly back to San Jose, and I believe it was like the day or the day after that is when he was put on COVID protocol. But it still begs the question. Jerk, you and I talked about after his, I don't know, I would call that a press conference per se, but we talked about how Chief wasn't answering a lot of questions, but it did seem it's kind of like, okay, why is he only playing in California? There seemed to be a lot of talk about that, but the fact that Sommer or whoever was asked about Kane that was involved with the Barracuda, it was this whole, well, he's doing everything he's asked to be doing. He's been a great team player. It's been fantastic. And I'm going, wait a minute, he doesn't want to play games outside of California. How is that being a team player?
Well, and not only that, but it's like, all this praise that's being given. It's like, oh, we're so glad that you're doing the
the bare minimum
of what we ask you.
Yeah.
And not only that, you had a feeling that something was up just because he did go on the AHL COVID protocol list, and everybody who went on with him all came back except for him. And then after the game against the Henderson Silver Knights this past Friday, Roy Sommer said, I don't know when he's going to come back. And so
The fact that
it's
the coach doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
and so it's kind of and so immediately I'm like, okay, well, where the hell is he then?
Yeah. Well, the other thing
And then
being,
come to find out he's the next morning he's on waivers.
well, and that the fact that the Sharks have recalled 8 forwards from the AHL since Kane was assigned there. If there's not like a bigger red flag from the Sharks saying, we don't want you here. Like, I don't understand how the flag can be any bigger. And for I say all, for the 2 or 3 or 4, however many of you are that are out there, the Kane defenders, how many more chances are you willing to give the guy? Like, I'm all about second chances, potentially even third chances. I feel like we're at the 23rd chance now, and that's beyond my capacity. Like, the 21 game suspension was about violating COVID protocols, right?
Allegedly submitting a fake vaccination card.
But okay, but you put that under the umbrella of violating COVID protocol.
Sure.
And why was he put on waivers again this time? Violating COVID protocol. Like,
and it's not again, not the same incident. This is a repeat offender, so to speak.
And and this is what we've mentioned before. Take ownership of your stupidity. Like, these are choices you made. You purposely tried to deceive the team, and then you went through the 21 game suspension. Then, everything that happened with the Barracuda, either way, you were on COVID protocol. I'm pretty sure when you're on COVID protocol, the first word is isolate. Don't fucking leave go out and get yourself some fucking TV dinners and a thing of toilet paper or whatever, all the shit that you need. Don't leave your house for 5 to 10 days or whatever the stipulation is. And Evander Kane said, I heard him say travel to Vancouver. That's what I heard. So I'm done with this guy. For all the talk that we heard during that press conference, I just want to get back to playing hockey and to do everything. But no, you were told what you could and could not do, and you violated it. So I have no sympathy anymore. I can't find any part of myself at this point to support Evander Kane in any way, shape, or form. This is a guy who needs to be held accountable for his actions. Plain and simple. That's it. A few people, for whatever reason, have talked about Bugner being on the hot seat. Now, I don't get that. I don't understand that. If you own a restaurant and you give your ridiculously awesome chef rotten food to make a meal with, what do you expect to happen? Now, I'm not saying that the Sharks have nothing but rotten food on the roster, but it's certainly not the best of the best. Why are you going to blame Bugner for that? Like, this feels like this is probably more of a Doug Wilson thing. Like, maybe Doug Wilson could be on the hot seat. Now, let's be honest. When did Doug Wilson take over? Like 2003, 04, somewhere in that?
2003.
Okay, so for 15 years, Chief knocked it out of the park. You asked Jerk, don't let him get you in the chair. He's the dentist, dealing Doug, all the stuff that we had heard. But the last few years, he's made some questionable moves, signed questionable contracts. So I guess my point is here, and we know that he's been on, he's taken a leave of absence for over a month now for quote unquote, some sort of medical issue. We have no idea what it could be. Is it a case? And we wish nothing but the best for Doug Wilson. Hope he bounces back like that from whatever he's dealing with. But that said, if he is dealing with medical issues, the team that he's been in charge of for the last 17, 18, 19 years is about to miss the playoffs for the third straight time. there's Wilson's legacy to be thought about here, I suppose. Is it time for the Sharks to, it's not so much about Bugner, who only has one more year left on his deal. Is it time to move away from Doug Wilson as GM?
Yeah, I mean, you're right? Like the coach.
We're in a what are you? What have you done for me lately league?
Right, and the coach can only do so much.
You can only work with the tools you're given.
That's what I'm saying. Ultimately, it does fall on the person who is providing, who is providing the tools. Ultimately, it falls on that person, right. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird situation because I still, based on the history and everything, you still want to believe that Doug Wilson is going to do everything in his power to try and put a good team out on the ice, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, it kind of feels like I mean, look at the players who have seen long looks on this team. Like, you're claiming Gadjevich off of waivers, and you're trading for Lane Peterson. And you're calling up all these guys from the Barracuda who are good players, but they're not at the point where they're long-term NHLers right now. And it's like, you want to try and keep Hertl. It's like, what are you doing? You're not really doing a whole lot to try and keep him. And like, even with Evander Kane still under contract, the Sharks had cap space to make a move to try and help the team. And people are going to say, "Oh my God, my pearls, how draft picks." But it's like, if there's nothing wrong with trading futures as long as the piece you get back is going to be with you for a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm. It just makes me wonder how much longer is Wilson going to be around. And we've talked about it before, where it was like, at some point you could see that Doug Wilson, time for him to move on. You give him for the stick taps for everything he's been able to do. And so because of that, he gets promoted to some sort of whatever position that's, it's I don't want to say contrite, but it's, it's ceremonial at best. It's not something that he's, coming in working the 8 to 5. You know what I mean? And you look at that and you go, okay, that's, we're just going to bump you up the ladder, quote unquote. Now at this point, I think you have, if somebody comes along and whispers in Hasso's ear or whatever it is, you have to look at Doug Wilson and say, hey, you know what? Those first 15 years, unfucking believable. Great job. Like, great. You iced a competitive team over and over and over again. However, like, since that Burns contract, like, what's happened? Like, you handed out these long deals, which you've never done before, and you signed these players to long contracts, whether it was Vlasic or Burns or Couture or whoever. And then you made some questionable decisions, whether it was Kane or Erik Karlsson or whatever. Like, and I shouldn't say questionable decisions, that you've gambled and it hasn't paid off like it had for you in the past. So I think it could get to the point where it's like, no, we're not going to promote you up. We're going to say, thank you very much for playing. It's time to move on. Here's a consolation prize. Go the fuck home. I don't know. We'll see. I think this season, the way that it happens, if the Sharks miss for the third straight year, for the first time in franchise history, I think could be a part of that. And right now, if you look at the numbers and check out what's going on, who's the chief of numbers at the Athletic? Oh, it is Dom Luszczyszyn right now, and this guy does a pretty goddamn good job of finessing, massaging, manipulating the numbers. Right now, the Sharks have an 88% chance to miss the playoffs. And again, at the beginning of the season, I had them being outside the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. let's see, I think probably the last topic here that we can beat into the ground, which we kind of touched on earlier. Tomas Hertl at the top of Frank Saravalli's trade board. Why wouldn't he be? So, pros and cons. And holy shit, did Jerk and I go back and forth on this last night. The pros. Give me the pros of trading Tomas Hertl right now for the San Jose Sharks.
The pros is that you would recoup a lot of future assets. You're getting at bare minimum, you're getting a first round pick and an A prospect. And
well, dude, you're the one who said anybody who calls. What's your so we're gonna start with the second click.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna if the Sharks do trade Hertl, it's gonna be a 2022 first round pick, an A prospect, and most likely more than that, another draft pick that could potentially become another first. We've seen lesser value players get traded for more at the trade deadline. And
do you think as it gets closer to the deadline, the return perhaps goes up?
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a very interesting way the way the pendulum shakes, because you get closer to the trade deadline and teams start to really figure out where they're at, and it kind of adds a pressure to get a deal done. But at the same time,
desperation.
Right, but at the same time, if you wait too long and the pendulum swings the other way, then all of a sudden you're stuck with a guy you're probably not going to re-sign, and you feel like you just need to offload him. So if the plan is to trade Hertl, Doug Wilson needs to make sure it happens when the pendulum is in the right place.
All right. And just to bounce back before we get into this, Ricky asking when we're talking about Doug Wilson, how does changing the GM help the problem with the no movement clauses? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. But we don't know what the Doug Wilson roadmap is right now. However, we know what the roadmap has been for the last 5 years, and it's led to the Sharks missing 2 straight playoffs and probably a third. So that's it. No matter who you could get the best GM in the world, they're still going to be strapped with Vlasic's contract, Couture's contract, Burns, Carlson.
There's nothing wrong with Couture's contract. Move on.
So the cons of trading away Hertl. Would that not be a tacit admission from Doug Wilson and the front office that he does not believe that the Sharks are as close as he said he thought they were last summer? And
100%.
Wouldn't this be Wilson admitting that the reset, it's at that point, it's actually a rebuild. I mean, trading away the fan favorite has to. Everybody talks about the hot seat. That would be putting a volcano under his chair if he trades away the fan favorite, who at this point right now is leading the Sharks in everything.
I gotta say, I know this is not directed at you, but I hate how people, the first thing they say when it comes to trading Hertl is they say fan favorite. He's really likable, nice guy, fan, puts butts in the seats. Screw all of that bullshit.
Oh, dude.
No, stop. Hold on.
Hold on. Hey, you hold on. I have never not gone to a game because the team that I root for traded somebody that I liked.
But the point I'm trying to make is he's a fan favorite and I really like him. Who gives a shit? The main
green jacket, gold jacket.
The main talking point here is that Hertl is the best player on the team,
bar none.
You know how many fan favorites there have been who suck? Most of them. I'm sorry to tell you, most of them.
I don't think Adam Burrish was a fan favorite.
This has nothing to do with fan favorite. This has to do with the best player. If you're trading your best player, you're not close. Bar none.
Oh, see, chef's kiss. That's the best line ever. If you hold on, do me a favor, say it again.
If you're trading your best player, you're not close.
Thank you.
If Doug Wilson if they're gonna trade Tomas Hertl and then Doug Wilson's gonna say, oh yeah, we're right there and we need to do this, he's full of shit and somebody needs to throw a tomato at him.
Thank you. So there you go. It's like, look, the pros, you should get a ridiculous amount of assets for the future that maybe You can put it all the way around an Eklund, a Bordelot, Gushkin. There's a couple other names that I'm forgetting. There are some pieces that we're kind of excited about for the future. None of them proven, of course. But Hertl would return a pretty good profit. And, I don't want to hear anybody say jack shit, and her Jerk will back me up. Fuck you with, but Hertl's knees. But Hertl's knees. Fuck you. They haven't been a problem in 3 years. Fuck off.
Well, not only that, but how many knee injuries has he had and he gets better?
You're right.
He's like the $6 million man.
I didn't even think about it that way. It's like, yeah, he had problems. And you know what? He's better. Better than before that. So fuck you. Yeah, I just look at it and go, that's a goddamn king's ransom that he could return it. I'm not saying it's going to be the polar inverse of the Erik Karlsson deal, but it could be a lot of pieces back. And this to me is like 2015 again, where Doug Wilson could come out and say, we need to take a step back to take a step forward. You could sell it that way. And there are some people that go, how are you going to sell it to the fan base that you trade away their favorite player and right now this season, their best player?
It doesn't matter. The Sharks had no fans in the building for 90% of the games last year, and they did just fine. I don't honestly, anybody who's worried about the fans, you're wasting your time.
Right?
The fans, last I checked in 2098, when the Sharks finally win the Stanley Cup, you and I are not going to be out there lifting it with them.
Really? My whole thing is, it almost makes me wonder, like, where the Sharks would be had they had traded Joe Thornton in 2017 for pieces, or Marlowe instead of, letting them kind of walk into the sunset and do their own thing. Like, at least get some sort of return, because you had to have given stick taps to Doug Wilson when you looked at what he got back for Barclay Goodrow, Douglas Murray, Ryan Clough, right? You look at the return from Ryan Clough and Douglas Murray, you had to have been like, God damn, fucking Dougie. All right. Solid. If he got that back for Clough and Doug Murray, imagine what he might be able to do with Tomas Hertl. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to know for another 20 games. Let's be honest.
March 21st. Yeah. March 21st. If Hertl is getting traded, it's being done at the last minute.
Yeah, and drive up that value, which Hertl keeps trying to do. And we talked about it earlier, might not have been in this forum, but the next 10 games are not the Sharks' friends by any stretch. They've got Detroit, who, if memory serves, just lost in a shootout to Anaheim, but also just embarrassed the Sharks a week ago. But then you face the Rangers, who are right now a wagon. Pittsburgh, who just completed a 10-game winning streak. Those are going to be two very tough games. Then you get L.A., who, for me, are kind of a coin toss. One night you can roll over them. The next night they're going to steamroll you. Then you go up to Seattle. That's a game where it's like, fuck, Shark. Don't overlook it, but holy crap, if you don't win that, Jesus Christ. But then you host Tampa, which starts a 5-game nightmare for the Sharks. It's hosting Tampa, then at Washington, at Florida, at Carolina, at Tampa. 5 straight games where you're literally facing the best of the East. It's going to be very tough. You have that 5-game stretch. That takes you into the break for what was penciled in for the Olympics. Coming out of that, you have a 10-game stretch where you're going to play 6 of those 10 are in division. You've got to face Seattle, Vegas, Anaheim, and LA 3 times. So, okay, if you can go 2-1 versus LA, maybe pick up Seattle, lose to Anaheim, lose to Vegas. I mean, you can go 500. You can look at that and go, yeah, okay, 500 seems reasonable. But it all comes down to the next 10. I feel like the Sharks are going to come back to the tank after that game at Tampa on the 1st with a losing record. And then you look at the next 10 after that, that could very well be a point where Tomas Hertl goes, trade me right fucking now. Or Doug Wilson gets that call that somebody makes him an offer that he cannot refuse. Now, to that point, how good is it to see Simek kind of finding his game? And we talked about it earlier where there's a lot of people on the blue line that could potentially get healthy, whether it's Middleton, Carlson, Knizhov. Is Simek a piece that we could potentially see moved?
I think so. Considering over the summer he was made available and now he's starting to rehab, get, not what he was 3 years ago, but he looks better.
Definitely more physical.
It's certainly possible.
Boy, if you can get Simek and Vlasic the fuck out of here and get the rest of the guys on the blue line healthy, that would free up a lot of space on the cap. That'd be nice. And then it comes down to goaltending. And Jerk has said it a lot of times. Ian has said it a lot of times. It comes down to what are the Sharks going to do with league average goaltending? And right now they're getting just a hair under it. Last time I looked, and they're 3 points up from where they were last year. Cogs and Bonino over Gambrell and Leonard. It's been a positive, stabilizing factor, but through 32 games, Cogliano, 11 points. Leonard, last year through 44, has 13. I think Cogliano can probably make up that difference over the next 12. Bonino and Gambrell. Bonino right now, 35 games played, 7 points. Gambrell, 49 games, 12 points. I don't know if Bonino is going to be able to make up that difference. We'll see. But the big factor for me, Donato, over 50 games played, had 20 points. Weatherby right now through 32 only has 7. The bottom 6, I don't know, Jerk. You think we could get just a scotch more of that? Once everybody's healthy. That's the whole thing. Leonard, Gambrell, and Donato posting all those points, I don't think you saw people going out on COVID protocol or injury like they are this year.
Correct. And I think once the Sharks, get everybody healthy, obviously it's going to be a different story, but it also doesn't help that, the Sharks, even when everybody is healthy, there've still been some really questionable lineup decisions, right? and so it's really hard to say. I mean, I think, all like Cogliano and Bonino, I think they'll specifically Bonino, I think he's got another gear. Yep. Weatherby, I like Weatherby, but he's got to go to the Barracuda. He's not scoring, which he's a fourth line center, so you're not going to expect him to score a lot. But you need a little more offense from him. But he's also getting, murdered in the goal differential department. Like he's on the ice a lot when the other, and actually he's the worst plus minus player on the team. So more often than not, when the Sharks are getting scored on, he's out there.
All right, so coming up this week, the next time we're going to talk again, next Sunday, we're going to catch you up on 3 games that the Sharks will play. The next 4 are at home, and starting with those 3, versus Detroit, who just embarrassed the crap out of the Sharks. Or if you listen to Tomas Hertl, if we did this, we fucked. But embarrassed 6-2 in Detroit. We'll see if San Jose can get a little redemption there. Oh, then the New York Rangers, who the Sharks were shut out by 1-0 in New York. And then finally, Pittsburgh. Again, embarrassed in Pittsburgh in the last week, 8-5. Like I said, the next 10 games are going to be a gauntlet. So we're going to talk about those 3 games next week. It should be noted between now and the All-Star break, those 10 games on the schedule, none of them against Canadian teams, thankfully. So hopefully we're not going to see any more postponements, at least for San Jose. Because if you look at Vancouver and the Canadian teams right now, they're getting hosed. They wake up every morning. Nope, not today. Might be another one. Going to be tough. So let's go around the NHL. And this is going to be very quick. Like, no biggie. No bigs. with the postponement of all the games in Canada and all the COVID issues and everything like that, do you think, Jerk, that all the All-Stars are going to make it, or you think we might see like McDavid or whoever not make the All-Star game?
Well, McDavid will make the All-Star game because
you think right now that he's out by the time it comes in, he'll be healthy?
Well, you only got to quarantine for 5 days, and then you can come out of the protocol. And after you test positive, you do not have to be part of the testing rotation for 90 days.
Oh shit!
So McDavid will be there.
Okay.
And if some guys miss, it is what it is. But you know what? All-Star Game's all about the sponsors and the TV. So it's a way to get money. There's
Well, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. Is anybody going to be upset if you don't see him?
I just think, with the difference between the All-Star Game and the Olympics, the NHL makes money from the All-Star Game, and it directly benefits the NHL for the All-Star Game. The Olympics, nobody gives a shit about the NHL when it comes to the Olympics.
You're right. And with all the talk about generating revenue, because we saw because of the Rona and everything like that, they added advertisements to the headphones and everything like that. Why is it, and this was mentioned on Sirius, and I just wanted to bring this up for like a hot second. If you have center ice, why is it when they go to commercial, this is the screen you see, commercial break in progress? Like, they're going to add advertisement to the jerseys next year because they need more revenue. Why doesn't the NHL, which as far as I know, center ice is a product they control, why aren't they running national advertisements during this? That makes no sense. Like, I hate being bombarded with ads as much as the next guy, but I'd take this over ads on jerseys. And these are advertisements that people would actually see. But anyway, whatever. Just saying, you might want to think about that. Finally, Joe Thornton became the 6th player in NHL history to play 1,700 games. Coincidentally, setting that record versus Pavelski and the Stars. He is now 80 games away from breaking Marlowe's all-time record. Actually, I think he's 79 now. So, good for you, Joes. Good for you. The dark horse. Oh wait, that's not right. The dark horses. I don't even know. Like this game isn't even fun right now until Vancouver can play, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's hard to even get into it, so we won't. Martin Jones is at a 909 right now, 6 starts away. He's going to hit the threshold for the Ian haircut. But will he get to 915? Remains to be seen. Did throw 936 against San Jose, so we like he. The Barracuda went 1-1 this week. Good for them. Anyway, did we all see as we wrap everything up? Is it Joel or Yoel when it comes to Farabee?
Joel.
But isn't it more fun to say Yoel?
Sure.
Joel Farabee from the Flyers lost his shit. What the crap? Now, here's why I post this up. It makes me have 2 questions or 2 comments. First off, this is very Vegas in that someone's always watching. Like, it felt like Farabee went into this room and just started swinging his stick because he thought no one would be there to see him do it. He just needed to get out some frustration, right? That's number 1. Number 2, why does the entrance from the locker room in Philadelphia look like a nightclub? That's the thing that I look at this and I'm going, why
looks
does
like
this
the bathroom to a hallway?
Dude, I was going to say
the hallway to a bathroom.
Dude, like this looks like the entrance into the VIP lounge or into a bathroom at like the Bellagio. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even get that. That's the part. Like, if somebody had told me that this happened in Vegas, I would have been like, yeah, okay, makes sense. But I'm like, why does Philadelphia's entrance look like the Bellagio? It's very odd to me. I don't know. I got a kick out of it. I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, hey, make sure to check out our latest one-on-ones. Recently, Puck Guy talked to Matt Sakaris from Vancouver Sports Talk Radio. I talked with Drew Remendo, who always has the best stories. Thank you. So you can find them on our YouTube channel or on tealtownusa.com. Hockey Jerk. Hoofa. You know, the funniest thing is that Jerk and I came into tonight and we literally scratched out big blocks of talking segments, and yet we still went 2 hours.
Yes,
So-
we did.
Okay, so where can the people find you? Last words, fucker.
The people can find me at hockey_jerk. And I think this is going to be a big week for the Sharks. I mean, coming up, obviously, they're playing the Red Wings. They're going to have a lot to prove after, the full diaper that was that game.
Such a dive.
but also-
Dude, they need to pay back for that.
But also, the Red Wings have lost to LA and lost to Anaheim. The Sharks do not want to be the ones that let them get their streak back on get their winning back on track. And also, Detroit has worn their home jerseys in LA and in Anaheim. I wonder if we will see the red home jerseys on Tuesday in San Jose.
Oh, dude, say it with me. White heritage for the Sharks.
Oh, that would be epic.
Dude.
But so obviously you need to make a statement against the Red Wings. Rangers, I think the Sharks were in it last time, but to your point, Rangers are a wagon, so we'll see. I think the Sharks need to make a statement against Pittsburgh as well, but Pittsburgh's been very hot the last month or so. So we'll see. It's a tough schedule, but the Sharks
with the
need to
Rangers,
buckle down.
do you think it comes down to the whoever the Rangers put in goal?
Yeah, I could see that. If it's just Yorkin, I think it'll be low-scoring. Georgiev might be a bit of an adventure.
Well, it comes down to, I mean, look, Detroit, like you said, loaded diaper. Pittsburgh, loaded diaper. Those are 2 of the 3 teams that the Sharks are going to see between now and next Sunday. So, like you're saying, adventure is the perfect way to put it. As far as I'm concerned. You can follow him at hockey_jerk. You can follow me at AJ_strong. Don't forget to join our Discord channel. Chat never stops there. Check the show notes for the link, and remember to leave your take in the comments section of this YouTube video if you were not able to join us live. If you were, we thank you very much. Awesome. Always killer. We appreciate that. For those of you who gave us those donations via Venmo, we appreciate that so much. My famous last words are basically what Jerk said. Here, let me sum it up very quickly. Don't shit the diaper this week, I think is what we're trying to say. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on social media. If you listen to the podcast on something like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, whatever, help us out. Subscribe there. Subscribe to our content. Leave a review, 5 stars if you can. You can find all of those links to our social media, podcast apps, and more in the description below. Find everything on the website. So remember to check out After Dark following every single Sharks game when we go live. And that is our show. We thank you very much for watching us and listening on whatever platform you are on. We thank you very much for checking out episode 147. We will check you out next Sunday, 7 p.m., like always, for episode 148. Good night, everyone, and hope you guys had a great weekend.